Coming to you live and/or pre-recorded, I'm Sven Sandberg from the WTTT studios in beautiful Central Florida, and this is The Time Traveler, random ramblings and mindless musings from a prematurely retired travel consultant with your host, Greg Angstrom. All right, thank you, and welcome to another episode of The Time Traveler. 7 minutes of more fun than human beings should be allowed to have. Well, today's episode, while slightly different, is still worth watching. Since we are only going back 4 days in time, we won't even have to crank up the time machine to get there. Now, I'm not sure if today's episode falls under the random ramblings or mindless musings category, but here is the promised update on my recent COVID-19 test. Now, in a few days, I will be having knee surgery, and part of the pre-op procedures during this pandemic is to have a COVID-19 test. We were assured that there would not be a long line at the drive-in testing site, as this location was only for the surgery center. Well, my wife and I arrived at the site, and we were met by a nurse decked out in a surgical gown, gloves, mask, and face shield. I honestly think a howitzer shell could not have penetrated her PPE. Now, whenever I go to the doctor or dentist, I am quick to point out that I prefer pain-free visits, and in this case, I made sure to tell the nurse that I was allergic to pain. As she took my ID and insurance card to head back inside to do some paperwork, I told her, "Wow, that didn't hurt at all." She smugly replied, "Not yet," and kept on walking. Well, that left me feeling less than comfortable. A few minutes later, she came back to the car with the testing kit in hand. Now, there are many brand name items that have taken on a generic meaning, such as Kleenex for facial tissue. If you're using a cheap facial tissue made by brand X, seldom do you say, "Bring me a brand X facial tissue." You say, "Bring me a Kleenex." Other common ones are chapstick for lip balm, Scotch tape for adhesive tape, and Velcro for hook and loop fasteners. Now, another popular one is Q-tip for cotton swabs. This, ladies and gentlemen, is an actual Q-tip brand cotton swab. You know, there are Q-tips and there are brand X cotton swabs, and definitely it's worth the extra money to get the authentic Q-tip, all right? Now, swab. Swab sounds so harmless, gentle, benign. Look at that. Okay? It almost sounds soothing and relaxing. Here, let me swab that for you. Well, it sounds peaceful, soothing, and gentle, but that's not always the case. Well, the nurse let me know that she will take a cotton swab, insert it into my left nostril for 15 seconds, and then repeat on the right side. Now, she is quick to advise me that it may feel slightly uncomfortable, and some people's eyes tend to water. Well, let me tell you this. That was an understatement. Now, I am pretty sure that if my nurse checked out Ancestry.com, she would find Attila the Hun, Quasimodo, Jack the Ripper, and Joseph Mengele in her family tree. She would come in a close second to Sir Laurence Olivier as the dentist working on Dustin Hoffman in The Marathon Man in the pain-delivering category. So let's play a little show and tell. Now, on the nurse's tray is her definition of a cotton swab. Remember, I'm thinking of this as a cotton swab, okay? Now, we're going to have to use your imagination a little bit here, but here is a chopstick, all right? Just a standard chopstick, probably from Payway or some restaurant like that, okay? Picture this chopstick being white in color, with the end covered with a nice, harmless little cotton ball, okay? Now, remember, this is technically a cotton swab. Now, it's true that I have a good-sized melon attached to my neck, but let's get real. How is this swab going to magically disappear into my head? Okay? There's only so much real estate here to work with. Well, my friendly PPE-clad nurse is going to show me how it all works. Now, still sitting in my car, she has me lean my head back. Now remember, she has already told me that it may feel slightly uncomfortable and your eyes may water. Well, there was no may about it. She proceeds to insert this gentle cotton swab into my left nostril. I think the only thing stopping her from going any further was she hit the top of my skull. I'm almost certain that the pressure caused my eye to almost pop out of its socket. Slightly uncomfortable is not the word for it. And eyes may water? No, that's not it. Eyes did water. In fact, I appeared to be crying like a slapped girl. Now, I am not sure what is magical about 15 seconds. At the 15-second mark, any COVID-19 particles magically know to jump onto the cotton swab for a visit to the laboratory? Do you know how long 15 seconds is? Well, that was just 7.5 seconds, so double that for the full effect. Now my curbside car hop finishes with the left side and tells me that the right one will not be so bad since I know what is coming. Wrong. It was actually worse since I knew what was coming. On this one, I was groaning like a woman in labor and my right leg started bouncing up and down like I was at a hootenanny. My poor wife's eyes started to water in sympathy, and then she grabbed my leg to keep me from wearing out the car's shock absorbers. I was never so glad to see my nurse/car hop tell me goodbye. Now, I have had kidney stones, root canals, tooth implants, sliced open fingers, and had hockey sticks and pucks to the face requiring stitches. I would have to put this recent COVID test in the top 10 and maybe even in the top 5 in the most uncomfortable/painful category. As we close today, I ask you, please, oh please, do not let this little medical review persuade or dissuade you from taking the COVID-19 test if needed or required. Some might be lucky enough to have a different kind of test, or your pain/comfort threshold may be different than mine. Even though I found it less than desirable, I'm kind of a big deal. Ciao for now. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. Remember to subscribe, share, and like this channel. This is Sven Sandberg for The Time Traveler, random ramblings and mindless musings from a prematurely retired travel consultant.